Britney Spears has had a wild life and career. There's so much to it, and this video is not going to be able to cover everything, but we are going to need some backstory before we deal with what is going on currently. After I discuss that, I will dive into Britney's social media accounts, as well as read some articles, get some thoughts and theories about the current situation. If you know everything about the backstory and you want to skip forward to the current situation, the time code will be on the screen now. Britney started her career super young. She was just 4 when she was working on Broadway, and she ended up in the Mickey Mouse Club, which was a TV show that existed ages ago. She's pretty much spent her whole life being controlled in various different ways, from Disney to her label to her family. There's even been a bunch of speculation that her voice that she sings with is not really what her voice is. It's pretty well accepted that that like baby voice that we all know is not her natural singing voice, because she had vocal retraining from her label, who wanted to package her into a specific kind of branding. I mean, damn, I even found this video of her singing as like a kid. I think she was like 10 when she did this. That voice is in a completely different register to her like super famous recognizable style. I accept that this is probably what happened. I don't think there's much reason to believe it didn't, and it's very plausible. Like I said, that sounds completely different to her pop songs, and those often also deal with the subject of being stuck or feeling controlled. The one that really pops out to me is Overprotected. All you have to do is have a look at some of those lyrics. Like, I tell them what I like, what I want, what I don't, but every time I do, I stand corrected. Things that I've been told, I can't believe what I hear about the world, I realize I'm overprotected. I don't need nobody telling me what I want, what I'm gonna do about my destiny, but the whole essence of this is my life has been so overprotected. This is definitely not the only song that deals with this. The idea of her having vocal retraining also is believed to explain why she lip syncs so much, because she might not be able to properly replicate it live. And just to drive home the point of how much this side of her was controlled, in 2006 she wanted to release a completely different style of album. It was called Original Doll, that very, very largely used her regular voice. There'll be a link to it in the description, you can go have a listen. After listening to it, a bunch of people kind of concluded that it doesn't really sound like her. Unfortunately, the album was cancelled because her label realized that she was going to be going off-brand. And this all happened right before the big news: her 2007 meltdown. She was constantly hounded by paparazzi, even being followed into public restrooms while she was crying and telling them to stop following her. I'll also leave links to those down below, but fair warning, they can be kind of intense because it's pretty gross. During this breakdown, she shaved her head, spoke in a British accent a lot for some reason, and kept wearing a bright pink wig that seemed very out of character. And at the same time, she lost custody of her children, she was abusing drugs, and going through a divorce. So obviously it was a very rough time for her, and the constant pressure from the public and familial issues could not have helped. So in this period, she was hospitalized twice. And here is where things get very intense. Her father, Jamie Spears, petitioned the courts because he wanted them to make him a temporary conservator for 1 year. Now, a conservatorship literally gives someone else the control of your life. They decide what you can and can't do, and it's usually used for elderly people who don't have the necessary brain function to live their lives. He made the case that she was mentally unwell and she needed time to recover. But that time to recover did not last very long, because 2 months after her hospitalization, she had a guest role on How I Met Your Mother. Then at the 6-month point after being hospitalized, she dropped the music video for her song Womanizer. It was a massive hit and was used to promote her new album, Circus. That resulted in a world tour. A world tour that made $132 million. And I want to echo a sentiment that a lot of people have had in regards to this. If she was declared so mentally unwell that she could not make life decisions for herself, why was she then allowed to work so much and so quickly? You cannot have your cake and eat it too by entering into a conservatorship where you say that Britney is not fit to live her life, but then use her to make a bunch of money and do a lot of creative projects. That doesn't add up at all to me, and it feels really dirty and really sketchy. So after the 1-year temporary conservatorship was over, her father then petitioned the court to make it permanent. And he won. It's been going for 12 years. Britney has not had control of her life for 12 years. The way that he got the conservatorship to be permanent was that he alleged that she had early onset dementia that was starting in her 20s. At the time, he didn't expand on it, and there wasn't even any evidence released that she actually was diagnosed with dementia. So to give an idea of what the conservatorship does, here are just a few of the things that Britney is not allowed to do for herself. She can't drive a car by herself, she can't vote, she can't use a phone or social media without being monitored, she can't spend her own money that she earned, and she can't see how that money is being spent. She cannot leave her home without permission or speak publicly about the conservatorship. She can't make career decisions for herself, and she cannot speak to anyone without them being vetted first. Her security team even went as far as to literally raid Iggy Azalea's home because they wanted to make sure she didn't have drugs or was a bad influence documents when they were about to do a collaboration. And to top all of this off, she is not allowed to hire her own lawyer to defend herself against the conservatorship. She's stuck with whoever her father chooses to represent her. Keep in mind, according to this conservatorship, she can't be trusted to drive or use social media unmonitored. But you know what she is allowed to do? Have multiple world tours, release multiple albums, sell a bunch of different products from lingerie to perfume, and even being a judge on X Factor. So she's mentally stable enough to literally judge and affect other people's careers, but not her own, of course not. And you might be thinking like, wow, that's really horrible, Matthew, but what's the motivation behind this? Why would anyone do this? Why they always do? Money. Her father collects a $100,000 salary from her, and her money goes towards paying a lawyer she can't choose. Between that, other staff, other fees, and court fees, she spends over $1 million a year on a conservatorship, all against her will. And of course, while I've gotten a little bit impassioned speaking about all of this, I have to openly admit that we don't have all of the facts. We don't have Britney's medical records. We personally can't see inside her head and assess her mental status. But there have been a lot of developments, and there's been a lot of information that has come forward about this that leads me to believe that the public story about this is what has actually happened. And the hole is dug a little bit further by the fact that Jamie Spears and the team have sued people who have talked about this. I don't know, that just reeks of something shady to me. Alright, so with all of that addressed, let's look at some of her social media and see what's been going on recently and why all of this has resurfaced again. Everything I'm going to talk about here should be taken with a grain of salt because obviously we can't 100% know what the truth is, but there is a lot that's really concerning. This article on the New York Times actually discusses what catalyzed a lot of stuff. This article was done about a month ago. What was massive news in regards to all this at the time was that Britney was doing these like weird fashion show things on Instagram. She'd just walk in from one side wearing something, walk out, walk in wearing another thing. Sometimes she'd just walk in and out wearing the same outfit and staring at the camera. It was pretty weird and a bit off-putting, and people noticed and left comments of concern. What I find weird is that a lot of the time when there are posts where people do get concerned, they end up getting deleted. Like even the one referenced in this New York Times article is just gone. When I click it, it just links to my homepage. And it's perfectly reasonable to delete Instagram posts, especially if people are commenting things of concern, but keep in mind one point that I said about the conservatorship. She is not allowed to use social media unmonitored. So I don't know, like weird posts like that being deleted. It's entirely possible that someone from the team or her father is deleting these because people are asking questions. Her Instagram does have some kind of weird photos. Like these ones here are all very similar. In fact, this is a complete repost. Wait. Oh my gosh, no, it's not a repost. At first glance, that's so remarkably similar. That's wild. And all the comments are literally just asking if she's okay. I want to really quickly address something. I've seen this photo shared quite a bit because people have been saying you see this little like phone shadow. It doesn't really look like it could be held by her because her left hand is down. I mean, first of all, it's not really weird to have someone else take photos of you for Instagram. I've done that many times. But I'll also say you see this little like bump underneath the phone shadow. That to me looks like the little mount for a selfie stick. So she could easily be using a selfie stick for this even if she is taking it herself. I found this video where she actually seems to speak out about her conservatorship.
I'm a Sagittarius. I'm very keen on freedom. I love freedom. I love independence.
Yeah, she talks a lot about freedom and independence. I don't know, I've seen people refer to that to be like, hey, clearly there's something the matter, but if I was in a conservatorship like that, I'm definitely sure I would be talking about not wanting to be tied down. Where things get really weird and uncomfortable for me is her TikTok. I found this one really, really weird. I don't know exactly what it was about it. We can't use the music in this, unfortunately, but it's just her standing there and spinning around. What actually drew my attention to this was that there was a comment left, and here's a screenshot of it. It says, Britney, wear yellow if you're being held captive and purple if you don't feel safe. So since the start of her TikTok, she's only worn yellow once, and it was briefly in this video. This just makes me uncomfortable. I can't quite put my finger on what it is. But once that comment was posted, later, she posted this, which is just her wearing yellow with a yellowish filter and showing her boyfriend, which is also another weird video that doesn't really have much of a point to it. She's not dancing, she's not showing anything off. She's just lip syncing, wearing yellow after being told to wear yellow if she's being held captive. Now, of course, again, completely possible to be a coincidence, especially because there's no way of us knowing that she even saw the comment, but it's just another bit of the recipe that makes me feel uncomfortable, especially seeing another one where she's just wearing yellow, staring down the camera, walking in and out of camera. I know that this one really blew up on TikTok because everyone was like, this is weird. Another thing that people keep using to kind of like give Britney the opportunity to raise red flags is this idea of like, hey Britney, blink twice if you need help. And in that lip syncing one where she wore yellow, she did keep blinking twice throughout the whole video. I mean, I often blink twice, but it's just like another piece that makes me kind of iffy. Oh my gosh, it actually happened again. But again, there's no guarantee that she saw it. In her second most recent TikTok, there's the comment that says, if you need help, wear yellow in your next video. And the one that came straight after that was this weird spinning one where she walked in and out. And that would make sense as to why that has massively blown up. And the thing to me is that any of these little things in isolation seems pretty innocuous, but what gets me about it, and keep in mind, I am someone that comes at these sorts of things with a massive lens of skepticism, is that there's just so much. There are so many little things that add up. Being told to blink twice and then doing so, being told to wear yellow and then doing so, then being told to wear yellow on a completely separate occasion and doing so. The fact that some Instagram posts which have attracted questions have been deleted, combined with a condition of her conservatorship being that she is not allowed to use social media unmonitored, and just a generally really weird vibe from her social media. It's not enough for me to say, hey, something nefarious is definitely happening, but this is one of those instances where I think it is okay to ask questions. And one of the big problems is that because she is legally restricted from speaking out about the conservatorship, if she goes on record saying that she's fine, we can't even really trust that that's what's happening. It's unnerving, man. So the very last thing that I want to look at is from Andrew Gallery. This has recently come to light because Andrew Gallery is Britney's former photographer, and he made 5 TikToks reading what he says is a letter that Britney gave him about the conservatorship. I've not watched these yet. I'm gonna watch them for the first time here with you, but just saying again, at this point, this is unverified, but he did absolutely work with Britney. He was on her documentary For the Record.
She gave me a letter that she wanted me to read to you guys, and before I got a chance to read it to you guys, the conservatorship took it and destroyed it.
Oh, wow.
So before they destroyed it, I did make a copy. So here it is. What happened to Britney was a year ago, and people need to get with the times. And as for Kevin saying Britney divorced him, she just was forced by her lawyers because she went to visit him in New York.
Wait, this is being read by him, but it's from Britney, right? I'm not sure why it would be in third person. If I was to theorize, I would say that then she could have plausible deniability that it wasn't her.
Her behavior when her children got taken away because of her locking herself in the bathroom is understandable. She was lied to and set up. Her children were taken away, and she did spin out of control, which any mother would in those circumstances.
I mean, like, I will say, regardless of the validity of this letter, I think people were really harsh on Britney when it came to the whole meltdown thing. Because, I mean, honestly, anyone that went through all that trauma would definitely break. A lot of what she did was a completely understandable reaction.
The people controlling her life have made $3 million this year.
Jeez.
This next part is blurred out, so I'm gonna show it to you guys.
She would love for new eyes to see her situation, but if she brings it up, she's constantly threatened. That's uncomfortable. I can't really see an incentive for this guy to lie and make this up, but I can 100% see an incentive for the conservators to keep it going. They would have to be making a lot of money, especially because Britney can't control how her money is spent.
So like I said, she gave this letter to me back in like 2008 or so. I was under a contract back then. I couldn't really talk about anything.
I'm sure that there would be a lot of people that would criticize him for not coming out earlier, but I will say that I absolutely 100% easily believe that he was under some form of contract about it.
So I'll also post the letters here, and you can see that they're in the original ink, the original ink that they were written in, so you know that they're real.
I don't know, that letter just also makes me uncomfortable and a bit sad. In the description, there will be links to all of the videos I've mentioned and all of the articles I've mentioned, so you can watch and read for yourself. The last thing I'll mention is that Britney Spears' manager has gone on record saying that the Free Britney movement has no factual basis. With that in mind, like I just said before, there is a massive incentive to keep this under wraps, but only for one side. So my final thought on all of this is that yes, there is definitely a lot of conjecture, and people need to approach this with a healthy amount of skepticism, but don't discount what could be happening. There's a lot of history behind this and a lot of potential for a few people to make a lot of money from her. I'm not definitively saying that anything is the case one way or the other, but like I said before, I think that asking questions is probably good in this instance. And who knows, the simple act of asking questions could help someone that's in a dire situation. Please feel free to leave your thoughts down below in the comments. I'm always keen to hear what you're thinking. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to click that like button. And as always, have an awesome time until I see you next. See ya.